This video is about a single mom stood near the train station and a billionaire made her laugh. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The faded blues of twilight draped over the train station like a gentle blanket, an ethereal glow illuminating the edges of the world. The last of the day, a sun melted into the horizon, casting hues of amber and rose against the grey concrete. Alina stood at the platform, her breath misting in the cooling air as she shifted from foot to foot. She was feeling the weight of the bag slung over her shoulder, filled with an assortment of items, snacks, toys, and a worn-out book that had seen better days. The train wasn't due for another 10 minutes, but it felt like an eternity, just enough time for her thoughts to spiral. She glanced down at her watch, the small digital screen blinking back at her like a reminder of her responsibilities. "Come on, Rosie," she muttered under her breath, glancing toward the empty space beside her. In her mind, she could already hear her 7-year-old daughter's animated chatter, her voice an infectious melody that had the power to soothe Alina's racing heart. Just then, a rush of movement caught her eye. A tall figure strode toward her, confidence radiating from every step. Dressed impeccably in a tailored navy suit with tousled dark hair that hinted at a casual elegance, he exuded an air that was, dare she say, billionaire. She fought against the instinct to look away, instead allowing her gaze to linger a beat longer than she intended, drawn to the warmth in the depths of his blue eyes. "Excuse me," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "Is this train heading to downtown? I seem to have lost my sense of direction." Alina blinked, startled out of her reverie. Yes, the next train will take you there." "Great, I was beginning to think I do need to charter a helicopter." He chuckled, a rich sound that melted the chill of the evening air. She couldn't help but smile at the absurdity of the statement. "I think the train will do just fine." "I'll take that as a sign you're not a fan of over-the-top entrances," he replied, a teasing glint in his eyes. "I am Alex, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Alex. I am Alina." With a casual ease, he leaned against the railing, his posture relaxed yet commanding. "So, what brings you to this bustling hub of excitement? A secret rendezvous or just the thrill of waiting for a train?" Alina felt a flush creep up her neck, half charmed and half flustered. "Just my daughter. We were heading home from a long day out." His brow furrowed slightly, curiosity piqued. "A daughter? How old?" 7. She is the real handful," Alina replied, the smile fading a bit as the weight of her responsibilities hung heavier now. "But I wouldn't trade it for anything." "I get that," he said, nodding appreciatively. "It is amazing how children can turn your world upside down one tantrum at a time." A laugh escaped her lips, light and genuine, surprising herself. "Exactly, you'd think I'd be used to it by now." "I can only imagine," he mused. "So, what has something that keeps you sane amidst the chaos?" "Honestly, a good book, and sometimes a little bit of wine at the end of the day." "Ah, the classic remedy." He grinned. "I suppose I am more of a whiskey guy myself, neat, with a side of solitude." She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And does that work for you, the solitude?" "It does, sometimes," he admitted, a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes, almost imperceptible. "But then again, it can also feel like a double-edged sword. You can be surrounded by people and still feel alone." Alina felt the pang of recognition. "I know that feeling all too well," she said softly. "Even in a crowd, sometimes it is easy to feel out of place." Their eyes locked for a moment, the weight of unspoken understanding passing between them. She could sense a depth beneath his charming demeanor, a complexity that intrigued her. "Tell me about your daughter," he prompted, breaking the momentary tension. A smile returned to her face. "Rosie, she loves everything under the sun, art, animals, stories. She has this wild imagination that takes her on adventures I can't even keep up with." "Sounds like a creative powerhouse," he said, leaning in slightly, genuinely interested. "Have you thought about her future? Any aspirations?" "Well," she started, feeling a flutter of nerves. "I want her to be happy above all else, but I also wish to nurture her passions, maybe art school one day." Alex nodded, a hint of admiration in his expression. "That is beautiful. It sounds like you were doing a fantastic job." "Thank you," she replied, her cheeks warming slightly at the praise. The banter felt easy, yet inside, a small voice wrestled with doubt. Could a man like him truly understand her world? "Do you have any siblings?" she asked, seeking a shift in the conversation. "An older brother," he replied thoughtfully. "He is running the family business, while I chose the road less traveled." "What is that?" I am an entrepreneur, technology and innovation. If I told you how many late nights I've spent buried in spreadsheets, you'd probably think I was crazy. Not crazy, she laughed, just dedicated. The train approached, its rumble echoing through the station. The lights flickered and the crowd began to move. I guess that is my cue, he said, pushing himself away from the railing. It was nice talking to you, Alina. Likewise, she replied, feeling a twinge of disappointment as he took a step back. Let me ask you something, he said, hesitating as if weighing his words. Can I take you and Rosie out for coffee sometime? I'd love to hear more about your adventures. A rush of surprise washed over her. Though, that is very generous of you. Only if you think I am worth your time, he added with a charming smirk, the lightheartedness returning to his tone. Alina hesitated, her heart racing as she considered the implications. There was something undeniably magnetic about him, and yet, how could a guy like Alex fit into her chaotic life? Sure, why not? She found herself saying before she could second-guess the decision. Great, here, let me get your number, he said, pulling out his phone. As she recited her number, she felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. $1 billion life wasn't something she had ever imagined blending with her modest world. Train doors opened, and with one last smile, he stepped back, the rush of passengers flowing around him like a tide. Looking forward to our coffee, Alina, he said, a promise lingering in his voice as he stepped onto the train. She watched him go, the warmth of their interaction swirling inside her like a gentle ember. But as the train pulled away, so did her certainty. What had she just agreed to? As the train disappeared into the distance, Alina shook her head, a bemused smile forming on her lips. Perhaps life had a funny way of surprising her, even on the most ordinary of days. Alina returned to her modest apartment, the late autumn air following her in with a chilly embrace. Rosie was at her grandmother's house for the night, a small reprieve from the whirlwind of motherhood, and the quiet felt like both a blessing and a curse. She tossed her bag onto the kitchen table and moved to prepare a quick dinner. The familiar sound of pans clanging and the smell of sautéed vegetables began to fill the small space, but her thoughts drifted to the encounter at the train station. Coffee with the billionaire, she muttered to herself, stirring the vegetables absent-mindedly. She couldn't shake the memory of Alex's blue eyes, the way they sparkled with humor and understanding. Yet, amidst the flutter of excitement, a seed of doubt planted itself deep within her. What would they even talk about? Was there a chance this was just some fleeting moment for him, a whimsical dalliance? Her stomach twisted at the thought. The phone buzzed against the table, breaking her reverie. She glanced down, her heart racing as she saw a message from a number she recognized instantly. **Alex***, hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say I had a great time chatting today. Can't you wait for coffee? She stared at the screen, feeling the corners of her mouth twitch upward. There was a lightness in her chest that felt almost foreign. She typed back a quick response. **Alina***, hi Alex, me too. Looking forward to it. As soon as she hit send, a rush of uncertainty washed over her. What had she just opened herself up to? Dinner eventually finished, and she settled on the couch, the television flickering softly in the background. Yet her mind remained fixated on Alex. The way he leaned in when he spoke, the softness in his voice when he mentioned his brother, the glint of vulnerability that momentarily flashed in those striking blue eyes, all of it pulled at her heartstrings. The next day passed slowly, the clock ticking with an agonizing slowness as she tackled her daily responsibilities. After getting Rosie ready for school, she found herself glancing at her phone far too often, wishing for another message, another glimpse into the mind of the man who had so unexpectedly ignited a spark within her. When the weekend rolled around, Alina found herself standing in front of her closet, torn between practicality and the desire to impress. She settled on a simple, elegant navy dress that hugged her figure just right, paired with a light cardigan. After a quick application of lip gloss, she felt both nervous and hopeful. The cafe they chose was quaint, nestled between a bookstore and a vintage shop, filled with the rich aroma of coffee and the chatter of patrons. When she arrived, a rush of anxiety settled in her stomach. She had never experienced anything like this, meeting a man from a different world entirely, one that felt so out of reach. "Hey, you made it." Alex's voice sliced through her thoughts as he waved from a table in the corner. He wore a soft gray sweater that accentuated his broad shoulders, and his expression lit up upon seeing her. "Hi," she replied, attempting to mirror his enthusiasm. As she approached, he rose from his chair, pulling it out for her with a chivalrous ease. "Your kingdom awaits," he joked, gesturing toward the steaming cups in front of him. She chuckled, settling into the seat, her nerves beginning to ebb away with each passing second. I didn't realize I was entering a royal court, she said, her heart fluttering as he took his seat. You're just a humble prince, he quipped, leaning slightly forward. So, how has your week been? Alina hesitated, the reality of her life rushing back. Busy, as usual, work, school drop-offs, and trying to keep up with Rosy's endless activities. You know how it is. Of course, I can only imagine how much energy it takes, he said, nodding thoughtfully. What is she into these days? Everything, Alina replied, her eyes lighting up. But lately, she has been obsessed with drawing. I found her sketching in the park the other day. She has this incredible imagination. Sounds like a budding artist, he said, his voice warm. Do you draw? Not at all, she laughed, shaking her head. I can barely doodle a stick figure. Maybe she can teach you, he suggested, his gaze lingering on her with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. Maybe, she replied, her pulse quickening. But she might end up drawing a monster instead. Can't he wait to see that masterpiece, he said, and for a moment a comfortable silence enveloped them. As the conversation flowed, Alina felt a strange kinship with Alex. He spoke passionately about his ventures in technology, infusing humor into his tales of failure and success. The way he expressed himself drew her in further, as she found herself laughing more than she had in a long time. Eventually, the topic shifted as Alina felt bold enough to ask, So, what is it like being a billionaire? He chuckled, the sound rich and deep. Well, I can assure you it's not as glamorous as it seems. Sure, I can buy nice things, but it comes with its own set of pressures. Like what? She pressed, intrigued. He sighed, glancing out the window as if searching for the right words. People often assume you're happy just because you have money, but happiness isn't something you can buy. It's complicated. The weight of his words lingered in the air, the earlier, light-hearted banter transformed into something deeper. He seemed to know that all too well, she said softly, sensing the burden he carried. Yeah, he replied, his expression shifting. Sometimes I find myself questioning what I really want. It is easy to get lost in the noise. Sounds lonely, she said, her heart aching for him. Sometimes it is, he admitted, his eyes searching hers in a way that made her feel exposed. But I've learned that connections are what truly matter, like this one, right now. Her breath caught. Did he really mean that? She felt a warmth flooding through her, igniting something she had buried within the desire for connection, for something more than the daily grind of life. Just then, the door swung open, and a cold gust of wind entered the cafe, causing Alina to shiver involuntarily. Want to move to the patio? Alex suggested, sensing her discomfort. Sure, she replied, surprised at how easy it was to share small moments like this with him. The patio was adorned with twinkling lights, and the atmosphere felt intimate under the canopy of stars. As they settled into their seats, a flurry of thoughts raced through her mind. The way he looked at her felt charged, and she couldn't help but wonder if he was sensing the same tension. She brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, feeling a wave of shyness wash over her. So, do you ever miss being carefree? He asked, his gaze unwavering. Sometimes, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I wouldn't trade my life with Rusy for anything. I admire that, he said, his expression softening. You're doing an amazing job, Alina. Thank you, she replied, her heart swelling. It is not easy, but I love her more than anything. I can see that, he said, leaning in slightly, causing her to hold her breath. It is beautiful to witness. For a moment, the world outside faded. There were two souls sharing a connection that felt electric yet vulnerable. Alina felt a flutter of something deeper, a yearning for more than just friendship. But as the conversation grew heavier, so did her doubts. Could someone like Alex truly want anything serious with a single mother? What if he grew tired of her chaotic life? Her thoughts spiraled as he reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers, a mere whisper of contact, yet it sent tremors through her body. Alina, can I be honest? He asked, his voice low and intense. Of course, she replied, her heart racing. I really enjoy spending time with you. You're refreshing, he said, holding her gaze. She felt a warmth blooming in her cheeks as she processed his words. Thank you, she said, a smile creeping onto her lips. I like spending time with you too. And I do like to see you again, he said, the sincerity in his voice clear. I want to get to know you better. Alina's breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding against her ribcage. A part of her wanted to leap into the unknown, to embrace this connection, while another part screamed uncertainty. What would that look like? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. His expression shifted, a hint of mischief returning to his eyes. Dinner, just the two of us, no kids, no distractions. Just us, huh? She teased lightly, attempting to mask her inner struggle. Yes, just us, he countered, the intensity in his gaze unwavering. What do you say? Alina considered the chaos of her life, the endless responsibilities that came with being a mother. But in that moment, under the starlit sky, she felt the pull of something that. Alina's heart raced in her chest as she watched Alex lean forward, an earnest glimmer in his eyes. The intimate atmosphere of the patio engulfed them, the twinkling lights overhead casting a soft glow, as if the universe conspired to foster this moment. Dinner sounds amazing, she replied, the words tumbling out before she could second-guess herself. But I should probably warn you, my life can be a little chaotic. Chaos is my middle name, he quipped, a mischievous grin breaking over his face. Besides, I find it interesting. I thrive in unpredictability. She laughed, the sound escaping her lips like a breath of fresh air. You might be in over your head then, Rosie is full of surprises. I've dealt with surprises before, he said, his tone light yet serious in a way that sent her thoughts spiraling. But let us be clear, I am not just looking for a fun night, I want something real. Her breath caught again, the weight of his words echoing in the recesses of her heart. Something real, she echoed, her voice quiet. That is a lot to consider. Trust me, he said, his gaze intensifying. I know what I want, and I want to know you beyond the surface. The sincerity of his words tugged at her, igniting something dormant inside her that had been buried beneath the weight of motherhood and life's endless routine. But could she allow herself to believe that something beautiful could emerge from this connection? Let us just take it one step at a time, she said, trying to temper her racing thoughts, nervousness bubbling under the surface. I can't promise anything more than coffee and dinner. He nodded, a knowing smile playing on his lips. Fair enough. When is our first dinner, then? Next week, she suggested, the idea forming in her mind. Rosie has a sleepover planned that gives me a little breathing room. Perfect, I'll make the reservations, he replied. And I'll even let you pick the restaurant, something that you and Rosie love. Really? She asked, surprised by his willingness to accommodate. Absolutely, he said with a wave of his hand. I want to impress you, as well as make it comfortable for you. A flutter of warmth spread through her, and she felt herself softening. You don't have to impress me, Alex. I am not used to all this, she admitted, her voice trailing slightly. Then I'll just be myself, he replied, the sincerity in his voice disowning her. No pretense, just us enjoying each other as company. The night deepened. Laughter and easy chatter flowing from their conversation, yet beneath it simmered an undercurrent of unspoken tension. Every time their fingers brushed against each other, her skin tingled with anticipation. But as they shared stories and dreams, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered doubts. Would he get bored of her mundane life? Did he truly understand what it meant to raise a child alone? The uncertainty lurked, like a shadow in the corner of her heart. As the evening wore on, Alina found herself talking about Rosie's latest obsession, a drawing of a cat with rainbow colors. She calls it whimsical whiskers, Alina said, her eyes lighting up. It is a mess of colors, but it is absolutely enchanting. I'd love to see it, Alex said, his expression genuine. And maybe she could show me how to draw too. Alina chuckled. You might want to keep your expectations low, she hasn't quite mastered the art yet. Hey, art is subjective, he countered playfully. There is beauty in imperfection, especially in a child's creation. She met his gaze, feeling the weight of his sincerity. You really mean that, don't you? Of course, he said, leaning back in his chair, fingers laced together. Art is about expression. It is an opportunity to interpret the world in your own way. I admire that. The conversation flowed effortlessly, and Alina found herself leaning into this newfound connection. But in the back of her mind, the familiar doubts crept in again. Could she let someone like Alex into her life? Would it be fair to Rosie if things didn't work out? So, what about you? She asked, trying to shift the focus. What do you enjoy besides work? He pondered, a thoughtful smile forming on his lips. I love exploring new places, traveling, trying different cultures, and of course testing my culinary skills. Culinary skills, huh? She teased. What is your specialty? Microwave dinners? He laughed, shaking his head. Not quite, I make a mean pasta. My secret, a dash of love and garlic, of course. Garlic, the secret to everything, she replied, her laughter intertwining with his. As the laughter faded, Alina felt the weight of the moment shift. He regarded her with a soft intensity, his gaze lingering on her lips as if he was weighing his next words carefully. "Can I tell you something?" he asked, his voice turning serious. "Of course," she replied, her heart racing. "I know this might sound clear, but I feel a connection with you that I haven't felt with anyone in a long time," he said, his expression earnest. "It is refreshing." Elena's heart stuttered. Each word he spoke resonated deeply within her, tearing down the defenses she had built. "I feel it too," she admitted softly, vulnerability creeping into her voice. "Then why the hesitation?" he asked, tilting his head slightly, searching her eyes. Just as she began, but the words caught in her throat. "I have a daughter to think about. I can't just jump into something without considering the consequences." Alex's expression softened, understanding flickering across his face. "I respect that, but I am not asking you to take a leap without thinking. I just want to get to know you both, to understand your world." The sincerity in his voice made her heart flutter. "You really mean that?" "Absolutely," he said, his gaze unwavering. "I want to be a part of your life, but I won't rush you. I am here for the journey, not just the destination." Elena felt a wave of warmth wash over her. His willingness to embrace her life, imperfections and all, was unlike anything she had ever experienced. But then the weight of reality crept back in, threading doubt through her heart. "Okay, but what if it gets complicated?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What if we don't work out?" "Then we'll figure it out together," he answered, his tone resolute. "But just know that I am committed to trying. You and Rosie deserve that much." The sincerity in his words tugged at her heartstrings, igniting a flicker of hope. Could he really mean everything he said? Everything about him felt genuine, yet the scars of her past still ran deep. "Thank you," she said softly, the words full of unspoken gratitude. "I appreciate your honesty." Just then, a gust of wind swept through the patio, making her shiver involuntarily. Alex noticed immediately, his brow furrowing in concern. "You are gay?" "Just a little cold," she admitted with a smile, trying to hide her discomfort. "Here," he said, swinging his arm around the back of her chair, an invitation for closeness. "You can borrow my warmth." The gesture sent a jolt of electricity through her, and she felt the flutter of excitement mixed with fear. Elena leaned slightly into him, and the warmth radiating from his body enveloped her like a comforting blanket. "Wow," she teased lightly, attempting to mask the intensity of her feelings. "I didn't know billionaires had such great warmth to offer." "Only for truly special people," he replied, his voice low and sincere. As the night wore on, the connection between them deepened, filling the air with unspoken promises. Elena felt herself leaning closer, savoring every moment as the distance between them melted away. But in the back of her mind, the whisper of doubt lingered. Could she really allow this into her life? Elena glanced at him, catching the intent gaze in his eyes. "I just need time to think about everything," she said, her voice steady yet cautious. "Take all the time you need," he replied, his expression understanding. "But know that I am here, ready to take the journey with you." As they settled into comfortable silence, the night wrapped around them like a warm embrace. Elena found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The connection felt intoxicating, yet the shadows of doubt continued to dance at the edges of her mind. But here, in this moment, surrounded by twinkling lights and a promise of something more, she realized that maybe, just maybe, it was worth the risk. Elena stood in front of her full-length mirror, her heart racing as she adjusted the collar of her navy dress. Tonight was the night her dinner date with Alex. The very thought of it sent a tremor of excitement coursing through her veins. Would he still feel the same chemistry? Would they fall into their easy banter, or would the weight of expectation shift the dynamic between them? She pulled her hair back into a loose bun, allowing a few wisps to frame her face. It was a delicate balance between looking polished and staying true to herself. A simple touch of makeup enhanced her features, but she wanted to be authentic. She was a single mom, after all, not a glamorous socialite. After a final glance, she grabbed her bag and stepped out of her apartment, locking the door firmly behind her. The chill of the evening air hit her like a rush of cold water, and a shiver danced down her spine. As she made her way through the city streets, the twinkling lights overhead felt like stars come to life, illuminating her path. The cafe they agreed to meet had a cozy ambience, with soft music playing in the background. The smell of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the scent of baked goods, wrapping her in a warm embrace. Elena stepped inside, taking a moment to absorb the atmosphere that buzzed around her. Perfect timing, she heard a familiar voice call from across the room. Alex stood by their table, looking effortlessly handsome in a charcoal sweater that hugged his shoulders. His hair was tousled, giving him an almost boyish charm. As he noticed her approach, his expression brightened in a way that made her heart flutter. "Hi," she said, her voice tinged with nervous excitement. "Hey, you look incredible," he replied, the sincerity in his tone warming her cheeks. "I was beginning to think I'd have to send a search party. Just needed a little extra time to make sure I didn't look like a frazzled mom," she joked, her laughter spilling into the air. "Frazzled or not, you carry it well," he said, his gaze lingering on her for a moment too long. Alina felt a rush of warmth at his compliment, igniting an ember of confidence within her. They settled into their seats, and she noticed how the atmosphere around them shifted. The playful banter they had shared on their first meeting now felt laced with anticipation, electrifying the air between them. "Tell me about Rosie," Alex prompted, leaning closer. Alina's heart swelled at the mention of her daughter. "Well, she has been working on her latest masterpiece, an abstract piece featuring a cat. It has all the colors of the rainbow and is definitely unique," she said, a smile playing on her lips. "Abstract art, I like it. Art is all about perspective, right?" he said, his eyes sparkling with interest. "Exactly. It is all in the eye of the beholder," she replied, feeling the familiar comfort of sharing Rosie's adventures. "Maybe one day I can meet this talented artist," Alex suggested, and the warmth of his words wrapped around her like a soft blanket. "Yeah, I think she'd love that," she said, her heart fluttering with the thought of them all together. But then doubt crept in. Would he really be interested in her chaotic life with a child? As if sensing her hesitation, Alex shifted the subject seamlessly. "So, what would you like to do this evening? I mean, besides talking about your daughter's artistic exploits," he teased, his grin infectious. Alina found herself leaning in, her heart racing with every shared glance. "For dinner, I could definitely go for something delicious," she replied, a playful smile in return. "Lucky for you, I've made reservations, a place known for their exquisite pasta," he said, an alluring glint in his eyes. "I hope you're hungry." "Always," she laughed, feeling lighter with each passing second. The chemistry between them was undeniable, but with it came the weight of unspoken expectations. As they walked toward the restaurant, Alina's heart danced with a mix of excitement and trepidation. What if they stumbled into awkward silences? What if their connection faltered? She shook her head, trying to dispel the dark thoughts creeping in. "By the way," Alex began, breaking through her spiral of worries, "I was thinking about Rosie's art. Would it be too much to ask if I could get a copy of that masterpiece once it is complete?" She chuckled, the idea amusing. "I can promise it'll be a Picasso, but I'll make sure she saves one for you." "Perfect, I'll hang it right next to my framed business contracts," he said, and she laughed, feeling the tension ease away. When they arrived at the restaurant, the ambience enveloped them in a warm glow. Flickering candles cast gentle shadows, creating an intimate atmosphere that felt both enchanting and a little daunting. They were seated at a table in the corner, just out of earshot from the bustling crowd. "I hope the food lives up to the hype," Alex said, glancing at the menu as he settled in. Alina nodded, her heart racing at the proximity. "I am sure it will. I mean, I am no food critic, but I know what I like." He smirked. "And what do you like?" "Comfort food, mostly. Pasta, pizza, simple things," she replied, feeling the weight of his gaze on her. "Oh, and wine. Definitely wine." "Wine is essential," he agreed with a nod. "How about we start with a bottle to share?" "Sounds perfect," she said, her heart racing at the thought of indulging in a good wine with him. As the waiter approached, they placed their order, and Alina felt her nerves settling into a comfortable rhythm. "So, what about you?" she asked, eager to shift the focus back to him. "What is your comfort food?" "Steak," he replied, a mischievous glint in his eye. "But only if it is cooked perfectly, otherwise I'll toss it out," he added, playfully. "Wow, a bit of a food snob," she teased, but her heart fluttered at his passion. "You could say that. I believe in quality, especially when it comes to food," he said, the earnestness in his expression captivating her. The conversation flowed naturally, fueled by laughter and shared stories. Each moment brought them closer, the initial spark of their first meeting igniting into a vibrant flame. Yet, beneath it all, Alina felt a knot of anxiety twisting in her stomach. Could this be the start of something more than just an evening? As they moved, it as if the decadent chocolate cake and creamy gelato, Alina's heart raced with anticipation. Amid the laughter and playful teasing, she caught fleeting glimpses of sincerity in Alex's eyes, the way he leaned in when he spoke, the way he smiled at her like she was the only person in the room. "Can I ask you something?" Alex said, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled between them after finishing their desserts. "Of course," she replied, her curiosity piqued. "What do you want most out of life?" he asked, his expression serious yet soft. Her heart skipped a beat. I want to be a good mom to Rosie. I want her to feel supported and loved, she admitted, feeling grateful for the opportunity to share something deeply personal. I can see that, he replied, his voice low and filled with sincerity. And what about you? What do you want for yourself? Alina hesitated, the weight of his question heavy on her heart. I want to feel fulfilled, but honestly, I often put my dreams on hold for Rosie. It's complicated. I get that, he said gently. But you're allowed to dream for yourself too. You deserve happiness, Alina. The warmth of his words wrapped around her, stirring a mix of gratitude and fear within her. It's just hard when you're used to putting someone else first, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. I understand, he said, his eyes locking onto hers with unwavering intensity. But I believe you can have both. You can nurture your love for Rosie and still pursue your passions. You deserve both. Alina felt a rush of emotions surging through her, vulnerability hanging in the air between them. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. Thank you, Alex, she said softly. I appreciate you saying that. You're welcome, he replied, a warm smile returning to his lips. And I mean it. I want to support you in every way I can. As they made their way out of the restaurant, the cool night air hit them like a refreshing wave. Alina glanced sideways at Alex, the tension thick in the air. Would he still want to pursue something more after tonight? Or would it fade like the evening light? Do you want to go for a walk? Alex suggested, reading her expression. Sure, she said, surprised by how easily they had transitioned from one moment to the next. They strolled along the lively streets, the city lights twinkling above them like stars. The distance between them shrank as they walked side by side, and Alina could feel the magnetic pull between them growing stronger. Did you have fun tonight? He asked, glancing at her, searching her expression.